This is the unit I'll be working on today. It's the WT151. The main reason I'm working on it is because when I would flush the toilet, the water would keep running, and although the tank was filling, it was filling slower because of so much water going down into the bowl, as you see here. So my goal was to fix this problem and to make it to where it would flush, and then it would stop coming down into the bowl here. Okay, the two parts we'll be focused on are the flush valve and the fill valve assembly. I ordered this WT151M valve assembly, which includes what you see here. These are actually the used parts. I already replaced the other one. As you can see, they pretty much are the same. Another possibility could be a worn rubber seal gasket that you see here that I've zoomed in on that might be easily replaced a lot cheaper than the flush valve assembly and cause the same problem. The flush valve sits into this seal gasket tube, and this is the tube that the water flows down from the tank into the toilet, and that's how it flushes the toilet. There is a way to adjust the flush volume from 4.5 or 6 or 9 liters by adjusting a little lever on the side, and you can see this lever. It's kind of hard and difficult to actually put. The little slider piece there is very difficult to move. It took a while, and I had to kind of cut off the bottom part where it slides down because it was trying to slide up and over. You could see if you happen to try this, what it would require. I didn't notice really any difference after I made the change here and adjusted the fill valve amount. Really, of course, I didn't adjust it all that much. Now I'm going to show how to access the components in the wall. Now to open it up, to start, you push on the right side to the left and you pivot out the left side, which allows you to remove the push plate assembly. Then there's 2 Phillips screws that once removed will allow the push plate support bracket to be easily removed from the wall. This now exposes the splash guard and actuator plate. Now I've exposed the splash guard and actuator panel. When I would push in on the left side, that's the full flush, what was happening is that little piece in the back there, the little handle for the flush valve, wasn't going down all the way, so it was staying open just enough to let water in. You can kind of see a little closer. It's not going down, it's not being seated all the way. And so because of that, the toilet was running on. I thought it might be the actual gasket, but it's not. That's what's going on. So once I figured that out, I needed to work on that because it just kept running. And it would do that. It would eventually stop when it would flow up enough to shut off the fill valve, but it took a while. So to remove the actuator plate, turn the 2 gray knobs counterclockwise until they stop. And then you pivot out from the bottom. It sits in, snags in on the top, and you pivot out and pull it off. And when you look at this, you can see here's the front view and a back view, and you can see the little hooks that actually go into the handles for the valve. You can see the little handles right there. And once I pulled this off, I realized that the handle was then going down all the way. Okay, to remove the flush valve, I reach in there on the left side and I turn off the water. It's hard to turn, but once you get it started, it will go down. Notice that I was able to lift up the flush valve and empty it out. Now to remove the flush valve hold down bracket, push down on the bracket and pivot to the left, and then you can pull it straight out. Well, off to the side there. It's just held in with a little pressure. Then the flush valve comes up, it bends, and there's a joint. You turn that, and then it comes right out. There you go. That's all there is to that. Now, the fill valve's a little harder to get to, but not by much. There's a little red tab there. You push down on the red tab. You don't have to disconnect the water line. Push it on, and now you can see the fill valve right here. And to adjust the fill valve, you turn that yellow Phillips screwdriver, that little yellow knob, clockwise to increase the amount of filling water. Counterclockwise would decrease the amount of filling water. Okay, I went ahead and unscrewed the line because I wanted to check the screen. There's a screen in the back there that's supposed to get rid of the or keep the particles from your hard water, if you have any, from getting into the fill valve. So I unscrewed the water supply line from the flush valve and then used a pair of needle nose pliers to pull out the screen inside that catches the debris. So I took the needle nose pliers, there's a screen in there, grab the little plastic inside there, pull on it, and the whole screen assembly comes out. This is just a screen to, there you go, to collect and catch this stuff that you see right here. Okay, and once I got the screen out, I cleaned it off. I used a little toothbrush after I flushed that out. Then I took one of these little handy things I keep in my medicine kit and just filled it with water, and I squirted that in there to clear out any other particles that might be inside there. Okay, so once I was able to do that and realized that there wasn't anything else in there, I went ahead and put the screen back in place, pushed it in, and then I used the needle nose pliers just to make sure that it was seated all the way. Okay. Now I'm screwing back on the supply line. It goes on pretty easily and came off pretty easily. Just made it tight. You don't need to use a wrench or anything, just finger tight. There's a channel molded into the back of the plastic tank, and you simply take the red bracket, guide it into that channel, and simply push it into place. Once you do that, it locks in tightly. And you're ready to go to put the flush valve back in. The same assembly you would do based on the disassembly. And if you notice, I rotated the short flush part. If it's out of rotation, just click it in place. And notice how when it's seated properly, it will drop down properly into the seal gasket tube that's used to connect the tank to the toilet. So I put it all in place, and I also pushed it back just to make sure it's all the way back in there. And now I'm using the hold down bracket here to make sure it stays in place. There's a little spot that it connects up to on the top to keep it in place, and you can kind of see, well, best you can here, that it's in place and it's holding down the flush valve. And once you push that little part there on the top, it connects up to the spot and back. And I pushed in on both of those actuators just to make sure that they're back all the way. I turned on the water. It took a little longer, so I sped up the. I don't really go that fast, so I'm not the flash, but I did turn on the water. You have to, it's narrow in there. If you have big hands, you might not be able to get it. And then I watched the water come up. Notice the old line is kind of a yellowish color, and it did actually go past that line because I increased the amount, but not a whole lot, maybe about 4 or 5 millimeters. Okay, so now I flushed the toilet manually here, and it worked, and it comes all the way down the way it's supposed to. Did what it's supposed to do. It's time to put the actuator plate back in place. Turn the 2 gray knobs clockwise until they stop. Don't need a lot of pressure. Once you get that in, it's a good idea to test the actuator. I tested the full flush actuator, and it worked perfectly, just as I expected that it would. Everything's working fine there. And it did, when it flushed, it did not seem to make much difference for the adjustment that I made to the 9-liter versus 6-liter, so I didn't really mess with that much. I'm now putting back in the push plate support bracket, putting in the 2 screws, turning them clockwise, the 2 metal screws there. And once this is in place, I will then put the push plate back on by inserting it on those 2 kind of pins on the right side, pushing in. They're kind of springy, so I push in on the right side, pivot the left side to lock it down to the wall, just like that. I then tested the half flush 0.9-liter actuator to make sure it functioned correctly. That's all you have to do. And I tested the flush on both the half, the 0.9-liter And then this one, which is supposed to be, it's 1.6 liters, and I set it to 9, but I couldn't really tell any difference. I think it's really didn't make much change. I'd probably have to screw that little adjustment screw even more, but that's okay. 1.6 liters is enough. Here you can see the one-page flush and fill valve service procedure, which is what I used as the guide to repair this. Hope you found this video useful, and feel free to leave a comment. Thanks a bunch.